arrest warrant for another 35 media workers on top of the 102 already incarcerated on charges related to terror following last month's failed coup. Turkey has also closed more than 130 media outlets and arrested more than 60 journalists since a state of emergency was declared after the coup attempt. With me now in studio is Abdullah Bozkurt from Turkey. He's a journalist and author of the book entitled Turkey Interrupted, Derailing Democracy, fearing for his life and imprisonment against the escalating crackdown on free media in Turkey. Mr. Bozkurt moved abroad in late July to live in self-exile. He's currently in South Africa to talk about recent political events back home, including the recent attempted coup and what he calls the continued crackdown on media freedom. It's good to have you here in studio. Thank you so much for visiting us.
Well, thank you for having me, Leon, in your show.
Now, you are self-exiled. What were your conditions when you were living in Turkey at home?
Well, we know it was getting worse before the coup. So many of my colleagues, I know some of them personally, based in Ankara, in the Turkish capital, they were being charged, they were being thrown into jail. But after the coup, things got, from bad to worse. So I said, well, that's enough. So I had to move out, and I shifted to another country to be able to keep working on the media, to be able to keep, speaking up on what's going on in Turkey. Yeah. Turkey has now become the worst jailer in the world, according to, Committee to Protect Journalists. The numbers from the last year, as of December 2015. In altogether, 199 journalists were in jail all over the world. Now in Turkey alone, 102 journalists already in jail, and another 35, as you mentioned, facing an arrest warrant as of yesterday. Yeah. So the number is, climbing up dramatically, and that's a total assault on the free, independent, and critical media in Turkey.
Now, when we talk about the media, obviously, I mean, we're reading about how about 130 media outlets have been closed and journalists are being arrested. But besides the media, what other areas of society in Turkey are under attack?
I think all the critical and independent segments in the society is under attack by this government in Turkey, and that includes the unions. For example, after the coup, they also shut down one of the major union in Turkey that was sort of critical of the government. They also come after the opposition political parties and NGOs and the human rights defender. I think that's another major challenge that goes unreported from Turkey. I know many of my colleagues, journalist friends, they can afford an attorney, but they cannot find anyone who can defend themselves in the court of law. Yeah. Because the human rights defender and the lawyers, they are afraid of the government wrath. They are afraid of getting dragged themselves to the jail. So I think all the segments in the Turkish society, if they are critical of the government on the issues like corruption, aiding and abetting radical groups in Turkey and in the neighborhood of Turkey, are considered a fair target by this government.
Okay, let's try and unpack this and find out how Ankara actually got to this. I mean, one side it's perceived that there's an underground movement, that this was a target. On the other side, there's a civil revolt. Those are I suppose, two sides of the story. But what, in your opinion, is happening there?
Well, that's just a pretext. I mean, they are talking about the Gülen movement, which they have working together with them for many years on the same democratic base. But they are not only targeting the members of the Gülen movement, which is not underground, by the way. I mean, they are accredited to the United Nations Security, Economic and Social Council. Yeah. They are very much transparent, and all the institutions affiliated with the group, they are under, government auditing, investigation as such. But the target is not unique to this movement. They are targeting, people from all walks of life. Just a couple of days ago, they raided a pro-Kurdish newspaper, and they arrested the chief editor, managing editor, and they shut down the newspaper. Another daily, also a Kurdish daily, they shut it down, and they arrested 22 media workers from that media outlets. Yeah. The assault is, I think, when we look at a pattern, targeting all the critical voices in Turkey, whether you are in the media field or some other union work or NGO, it doesn't matter.
All right. President Erdogan has accused an Islamic preacher, Fethullah Gulen, who lives in Pennsylvania, of being behind this. But there's also talk of a South African imam who's being behind it. Has it been determined who's been behind this attempted coup?
We still do not know, because the government is not sharing any evidence so far. They actually get a gag order from very partisan judge to impose a media blackout on the reporting on the investigation of the coup. We only hear one narrative from the government line. That's only narrative. It's not backed by any evidence. And they charge not only Gülen himself, but also the United States, European Union, some Gulf countries, and even African countries, implicated in this coup attempt. But it's only narrative, and we don't see any evidence so far. We don't even know who actually masterminded this coup, this failed coup. So that's a lot of question marks. It doesn't add up. For example, the President Erdogan, in 4 different occasions, they gave 4 different timelines of when he knew first about the coup attempt. So that raises a lot of questions.
Your newspaper, I mean, that Today's Zaman, was actually seized by government.
It was back in March. That was before the coup. It was the largest national daily. We had different, publication in our media group, and they came after the largest one. Just to intimidate the rest of the media groups in Turkey. And I was the first one kicked out from the group, and I set up my own company afterwards. It's a small news service. And after the coup, they also shut down my news service as well. So we are suffocating, in a sense.
Yeah, suffocating the news. Just on a closing note, what brings you to South Africa?
Well, I was invited as a panelist in one of the discussion on the press freedom issue in Turkey by the Freedom Expression Institute, and that will be held tomorrow.
All right. Well, we wish you the best of luck. I know that you have got a book, Turkey Interrupted, Democracy Derailed. Where can people get a copy of this book if they...
Well, you can order from Amazon.
Okay.
It's banned in Turkey. You can find it in Turkey, but it's being sold internationally.
Internationally as well. All right. Well, that was our guest here talking about the situation in Turkey. Abdullah Bozkurt. He's a Turkish journalist and authority. He's currently living out of his country in exile and has trying to spread the word and trying to keep people abreast as to what is happening inside of Turkey.